Hello, my name is Owen. Today I'll be giving you my first impressions of the Kindle Paperwhite. What I want to do is tell you things that I like about the product, the things that I don't like, as well as a general overview of whether or not I recommend it for fans of ebooks and fans of e-readers in general. So I've been using Kindle products for the last couple years. I used one of the first Kindles, that didn't have a keyboard and stuff like that. The one it didn't have any light source, so you had to watch it in light to use it. I used one of those for a couple years. Then the last few years I've been using a Kindle Fire from 2015, 2016, and it was working fine, except it just did a little bit too much than I needed it to do. It had Netflix on it and stuff like that, and the battery life was just not good at all. I had to charge it basically every day, and it just wouldn't hold a charge. It would take forever to charge. It was just a pain in the butt considering I just wanted to read books on it. So I decided to get the Kindle Paperwhite 11th edition. I was given it as a gift for Christmas, so I've been using it for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and I'm gonna give you guys my first impressions about it. Let's just start with the negatives, the things that I don't like about this Kindle. It was pretty easy to set up. However, the first 4 or 5 days, it was just going through constant updates, and it was so I was seeing this loading screen a lot, and every time it would update, it would completely change the format of what I was looking at, in terms of the menu and the way the buttons were, and the menus were, and it was just very confusing to me. It's they must have done a lot of software updates right before I got it, that it was just doing this multiple times. And I swear to God, it was 3 or 4 times where the menu and design completely changed. And I have a video of how it first looked when I got it, and then here it is now. So it's a little bit different. The Goodreads section isn't as front and center as it was, and it's a little bit more I don't know, recommendation forward, I guess. And then the other thing that would change is, and I'll show a closer look at it, but the top screen of the Kindle also changed, where the bookmarks and the table of contents. So now I have a doubled bookmark and table of contents button, and they're both at the top. So if I click one, I'll show you here. If I click one, to use as a bookmark, I could get rid of a bookmark. But then when I click it back, there's still one that looks like I have a bookmark on it. So there's 2 buttons, one the one I just turned off, and then the other one is, and this is after the 3rd or 4th update. So this is, I guess, is my final version. Maybe I have to restart it to get another one. That's the main difficulty. I thought it's a weird glitch, especially with all the updates. I would think that those would have been ironed out, but that's my biggest complaint, is just it's a little bit glitchy, as well as the frame rate. It just doesn't look pretty. If you're scrolling through a menu, it's just the pixels disappear and reappear. It's very, very slow. But that's just the way the technology was. It's a fairly cheap Kindle. I think you could get this one. I got this, the 11th edition or 11th generation without ads. I think it's around $150 is what I got it for. But it's not supposed to be a tablet, right? So it's not supposed to be super smooth scrolling. So that's more an aesthetic thing that really doesn't bother me that much. But if it bothers you, that's something you should look out for. This is not a machine with a lot of power on it. But how does it do for reading? Which is the only reason why I wanted it, and the main reason why you're going to get it. Works perfectly fine. I've had no issues reading books and reading mangas so far. The mangas, I was a little bit worried about with the picture quality, and I didn't know if the pixels would be weird. But no, I've been reading One Piece on it so far, and it looks great, and it loads fairly quickly. Even downloading books, even though it's a slower frame refresh and stuff like that. I'm really not that techie. I don't really know exactly what that means, but the speed and the smoothness of the pixels. It downloads books pretty fast from the internet, connects to Wi-Fi with no problem. And I've been reading books and mangas with it and no problem, which is the main reason why I needed it. And the one I have specifically here is a 32 gigabyte, and I believe there's also a 16 gigabyte. I don't think I would ever use 32 gigabytes because I mostly get books from a free library online, using the Libby app, which I highly recommend because you get access to thousands of free books. So usually after I finish those, I just undownload them because I lose access after 2 weeks anyway. So I don't think I'm going to be holding thousands of books on this Kindle anyway downloaded. But it's nice to have that space. And also, there is Bluetooth connectivity if you want to listen to audiobooks through this Kindle. So that is also a possibility if I ever want to do that. And like I mentioned earlier a little bit, there is Goodreads connectivity. So if you're connected to the internet, you could give star reviews to books, and then add them to your shelf through Goodreads, which I use Goodreads, so that was also like a nice little bonus. But it is kind of frustrating. It's kind of like a half measure connection to Goodreads. So like I can't add to like custom shelves. I can only add to like read shelves, or I don't even know if I could add to like want to read shelves, but I tried to add it to like my 2022 shelf and then my 2023 shelf, but I couldn't see them on there. So even though I'm signed into my account, it wouldn't exactly fit. But I guess it's a nice addition that it's there, and it gives me more personalized recommendations because it has access to like my Goodreads information. And the recommendations, I will say, on like the Kindle recommendation screen are pretty good. It knows that I bought like the first Novels of the Malazan Empire book, so it's recommending to me, here's the second one. Whenever you're ready to buy it, it's there. And also, it's, like I said, I'm reading One Piece, so it's recommending the next volumes. Even though I'm renting those out the library, so I'm not going to buy those, it's still nice that like the algorithm knows this is the next one in the series. This is what it's called. This is where you can get it. It's all right there. And the next big thing I want to talk about for this Kindle is the battery life. Like I said, that was the main problem with the Kindle Fire that I had in the past. This one is advertised as a 4 to 10 week battery life. And when I first read that, I was very confused because 4 and 10 weeks is a large difference. And doing a little bit more research, the 10-week battery life is if you use it only a half hour a day and you don't connect to Wi-Fi or like Bluetooth or anything like that. So basically it's just like you're only using it to read a half hour a day, and that's the only thing you use it for. So I mean, it sounds good if you do that, but I knew I was going to use this more than half hour a day, and I have been using it more than half hour a day. I probably like average at least an hour a day using this since I got it. And I've been connected to Wi-Fi practically the whole time. Like I said, I've been downloading books. I've been going to the Goodreads, like checking out all the menus. And I got it on Christmas Day. And today is January 4th in the time I'm recording this video. And my Kindle, and I charged it the day I got it, and I haven't charged it since. My current battery is 62%. And like I said, I've been using it at least an hour a day, probably more like an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours a day, because I've just been reading nonstop on this thing. And 62% after practically 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, I'm completely fine with that. I think this will last me probably close to 4 weeks, which was like the minimum level there. And if I wanted to save more battery life, I could like turn the Wi-Fi off, turn the Bluetooth off, and go as far the distance. But we're talking about weeks battery life compared to my previous like reality of days. I am in love with this battery life. That I could read it for like a whole day and only goes down a couple percentage points. It's a lot better for my peace of mind. And also it's a USB-C charging port, which is what I use for like my computer and stuff like that. So it's a lot more easier than like, I don't even know what the cable cord is, but it was a little bit more of a niche cord that I had to use just for my Kindle, which was kind of annoying. But super easy to charge, and it charged fairly fast. I guess just from the first time I only charged it once, so I don't really have really great insight into that. But really happy with the battery life for sure. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight that I really love about this Kindle is like how it looks. And like I said earlier, like the frame rate, the refresh rate, it's junk because it's not supposed to be. It's not what it's for. But the lighting in this Kindle is absolutely fantastic. And it's my favorite thing, probably besides the battery life. It's my favorite thing about this Kindle. The first Kindle I ever got, like I said, was the one like where you needed like a direct light source on it because it wasn't like a lit up digital screen. It's one of those. And this one has that. So you could see here, when you have it in a lock screen, first of all, the thing I love is that it shows the book that you're currently reading as your lock screen. And at first I'm like, oh, like I turned it off. Like, why is it not turning off? This is like one of the screens where if it was dark, you wouldn't be able to see this. But I thought that was really cool. It's always like the cover of your book. I really like that small detail. So this is on all of the time. And then when you unlock it, it'll light up a little bit and then it'll be like the words on the page. So it has like a dynamic lighting like most tablets have these days. So it transitions literally seamlessly. So like if I'm in direct sunlight, I could read it just like this because it just goes to that like you don't need any light. You're in direct sunlight. Boom, it's like reading paper. And then it subtly adjusts to your lighting level. So I'm reading at night perfectly fine because it adjusts to like a normal tablet screen. And then during the day, I don't need that blue light shooting in my eyes all the time. And I found it's actually easier on my eyes because it's so similar to paper, at least to my brain. it's telling it's very similar to paper. So this dynamic lighting is super subtle. It's never super bright, and I've never had an issue with seeing the words on the screen. It's even better than like a high-powered $1,000 tablet in that regard, because it's just for reading, and it's subtle, and it's not like super like flickery, because sometimes I have issue with tablets where like the dynamic lighting is like constantly shifting, and it's just like I could see it getting brighter and darker. But no, this is super subtle. It's always easy to read, and I haven't found a single light source in which I can't read it perfectly, and I love it. And it's so nice, and I'm convinced that it's easier on your eyes. I don't know the scientific background around that, but I really think that if you have a tablet and you're going to use it primarily for reading, to get the Kindle Paperwhite, because it's just all you could need, right? Downloading books is easy, reading books is easy, and it's got a long battery life. What else could you need from an e-reader? Now, that's all I got. That's my review. It's my overview. So obviously I do recommend it. And while $150 isn't exactly like nothing, it's definitely a lot cheaper than buying like one of their Fire tablets or just buying like an iPad or something like that. So if you just want it for reading, I highly recommend it. And thanks for sticking around. I'll probably do a more in-depth review later, just like with my more sitting with it, maybe like 6 months down the line, something like that, if I encounter any major problems or if they do any major updates. So if you want to see that, be sure to like and subscribe this video. It helps a lot. And I'll catch you on the flip.